Well, hello, thank you for joining me today again on the Church History Trail. And we're continuing here in Lurgan, and where we are is we're actually in McCALL Cemetery in Lurgan. And we're here to look at the grave of a lady called Marjorie McCALL. And this is a very interesting story because Marjorie lived once, but she was buried twice. And in Ireland, surgeons in the 18th century were actually prepared to pay a fair price for the newly deceased for medical practices, believe it or believe it not. And this led to unsavoury employment for what were known as resurrectionists, or we would know them as grave robbers. And so the employment was to prove a hair-raising experience for one such band of grave robbers in Lurgan in 1705. Because Marjorie McCALL lived at Church Place in Lurgan, and of course Lurgan is in County Armagh. And Marjorie fell ill with a fever and was buried in McCALL Church of Ireland Cemetery, not far from her home in Church Place in Lurgan in 1705. Now Marjorie was married to a doctor, and the doctor's name was John. And of course when Marjorie fell ill, her husband John was beside himself with worry and stricken with grief. Now she was buried hastily for fear of the fever spreading, but Marjorie was buried with her gold wedding ring on because they couldn't remove it because her fingers had swelled that much when she died. And so she was buried with this on her finger. And of course news leaked out about the ring, and so the grave robbers saw an opportunity to make a bit of money. And so that evening, before the soil even had time to settle on Marjorie's coffin, a couple of grave robbers paid Marjorie a visit. And so, working under cover of darkness, they dug in the dirt until they reached Marjorie's coffin and opened it. And of course, true to the rumour, there was the ring on Marjorie's finger. And because the ring wouldn't budge off her finger, they decided to cut the finger off and free the ring. As soon as the blood began to flow, however, from Marjorie's finger, she came to. She revived from the deep coma, the deep sleep that she had been in, and she sat bolt upright. Of course, there are different reports of what happened to the two body snatchers. One says that one of the men dropped dead on the spot from fright. Another report says that they both ran for their lives and left their grave robbing occupation for good. And so this is the grave here of Marjorie McCALL, as you can see, and on it says, "Lived once, buried twice." Amazing story, isn't it? But it's not finished. And so Marjorie managed to stumble the short distance home from the graveyard to her home. And her husband John was at home mourning, of course, over her passing. And whenever the door was rapped 3 times, John, still racked with grief, exclaimed, "If your mother was still alive, I'd swear that was her knock." And sure enough, upon opening the door, John was shocked to see his late wife dressed in her burial clothes, dripping blood from her finger, very much alive and standing at the door of their house. And it's said that John dropped dead from shock and was actually buried in the grave that his wife Marjorie had just vacated. And when Marjorie did finally die, she was returned to McCALL graveyard, and to this day her grave still stands. And of course we're at the grave, and as you can see it says, "Marjorie McCALL, lived once, buried twice." Fantastic story, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. So I hope you enjoyed that wee story, and if you like the channel, please like and subscribe, and also hit the notification bell, and then any time that I upload a video you'll be notified of it. God bless.